Good evening. MA Philosophy MPY 001, MGP-005, Unit number 14, Peace Education. Introduction. We have chosen the way of non-violence simply because we think it is politically better for the country in the long run to establish that you can bring about change without the use of arms. Aung San Suu Kyi. The concept of peace is multidimensional. It is widely defined as a state where there is no conflict, disturbance, or hostility. It is seen as a non-violent way of life, a state of tranquility and harmony. Peace can also describe a relationship between any people characterized by respect, justice, and goodwill. It also pertains to an individual's sense of himself herself to be at peace with one's own mind. There is no consensus regarding its definition and has been defined in different ways. For example, to Gandhi, it is related to truth and non-violence. To achieve this state of peace, especially in the present conflict-ridden world, it is being widely recognized that peace education is an essential aspect that would guide the mankind to shun violence and live in a harmonious society world. It is being recognized as an intellectual enterprise devoted to the study of peace and the bringing about of a state of peace in human society. At the same time, peace education is not just a concept that is confined to academic curriculum. It is a means to attain social justice, to live in accordance with moral rights and duties, and recognize one's relationship to all beings. Peace education became a platform for the potential of hope for a better world. Aims and objective. After reading this unit, would be able to understand the concept and meaning of peace education, its moral and spiritual foundations, the importance of peace education in the contemporary world, meaning and importance. In the previous units, you have already been familiarized with many aspects of peace and conflict, from what they are, their origins, sources, types, local, regional, and global conflicts, and peace efforts. The humankind has been a witness to conflict in some form or other at all levels. Violence in all forms is on increase and has percolated even to the school levels. Violent expressions and aggression are increasingly being resorted to, leading further to conflicts. There, therefore, peace has become all the more imminent in such context. Efforts are now being made to inculcate the values related to harmony, respect, and tolerance for better interpersonal relations. These are seen as seeds to ensure in the long term a conflict free world. As Mayor Meyerhoff put it, peace studies encompass the learning of nonviolent communication, tolerance, acceptance of diversity, and love as the basic law of life. Thus, peace education most importantly helps in deconstructing the mindset and discourse of power struggle by the use of violence. It helps people to cooperate and negotiate problems at the individual as well as societal level. In the 1950s and 60s, the definition of peace was confined to the absence of war. The focus of studies on peace was mainly on interstate conflicts, war, and so on. Subsequently, there was a departure from this view of peace. The focus shifted to the aspects of the structural violence and the inherent contradictions in social and societal structures. From this, the focus sharpened on the role of individuals' moral and ethical disposition, and is now zeroed down to the human values that guide the conduct of individuals. The shift in this field has been gradual and steady. Therefore, presently, character education, moral education, and self-esteem development are considered aspects of aiding in the individual reaching this personal interpotential and becoming a valued citizen for peaceful coexistence. Peace education is thus not a history of peacemaking, as she says, but to create peace in one's environment while standing for truth, justice, and self preservation. It is also more to learning about conflict resolution. If one has if one has to mediate for establishing peace, it is necessary that one should be receptive to others' perception, viewpoint, and adjust one's own perspective in order to reach an understanding, compromise, and consensus at a collective level. The objectives of peace education include: number one, appropriating intellectual and emotional development of the individuals. Number second, developing a sense of social responsibility and solidarity. Number three, observing the principles of equality and fraternity towards all. Number four, enabling the individual to acquire a critical understanding of the problems at national and international levels. Number five, creating willingness for continuous learning. Number six, accepting and participating in free discussions. Number seven, taking decisions on a rational basis. Number eight, appreciating others' cultures. And nine, overcoming obstacle towards promotion of peace. Towards positive peace. Peace education is seen as leading to positive peace. Positive peace means a state of tranquility, calm, quietness, harmony, and friendship. It flourishes in the presence of the feeling of brotherhood and in the absence of the ignorance in mind. Dr. Salpalli Radhakrishnan said, if we wish to achieve peace, we must maintain that inner harmony, that poise of the soul, which are the essential elements of peace. It cannot be achieved by organizations. It can come only when our minds become endowed with generosity and goodwill towards all. We must be filled with the moral power of love and the vision of spiritual unity. We have to solve our problems through the help of our higher nature. Positive peace is one of the most effective means to get the society rid of biases, structural violence, which is mostly latent in nature, and such negative traits that impede the progress of the individual in the real sense. Peace education is invariably linked with this concept, that is designed in such a way as to alter attitudes regarding peace in the hope that this will stimulate changes in structure. Similar views are echoed by John Galtung, wherein he states that peace must not only be conceived of as the absence of war and direct violence, but rather working towards peace as the means of the realization of conditions leading to a maximal reduction of structural violence. Positive peace. Institutional support for peace education. The UNESCO's call for recommendation concerning education for international understanding, cooperation, and peace education relating to human rights and fundamental freedom in 1974 is said to be the starting point for recognizing the need for peace education. It aims to establish peace across international borders and to augment respect for each other. As the UNESCO remarked, education should include critical analysis of the historical and contemporary factors of an economic and political nature underlying the contradictions and tensions between countries, together to study of ways of overcoming these contradictions, which are the real impediments to understanding true international cooperation and the development of world peace. Education, as it envisions, addresses the real interest of people as against the practice of exploitation and for fomenting war. The introduction of peace education in school curriculum is being undertaken the world over. Peace research and education is now a subject of high relevance in many eminent universities. For example, Bradford University, further institutions like Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, University of Peace, United Nations University are all undertaking pioneering research work in this field. In India, most of the institutes related to Gandhian studies or those undertaking to spread Gandhi's message of peace and non-violence are all immensely contributing to this field of education, and such efforts are being encouraged by both national governments as well as international organizations. Further, peace education manuals have been prepared and under preparation in some of the leading educational institutions and research centers like National Council for Educational Research and Training (NCRT). In the year 2000, the UN declared it as a decade of peace and non-violence for children of the world. This found support from many peace organizations and educators, leading to building up of culture of peace. Peace education has thus become important in the institutional discourses on peace and the UNESCO mission of promoting peace. Education for peace is specifically found mention in the Convention on the Rights of the Child, 1989. Moral and spiritual foundations. Del 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 Snowart interprets that peace education is premised upon the cosmopolitan belief that the moral community includes all human beings and that all human beings have moral standing, and thus bar and peace, justice and injustice are moral considerations. It is not merely a philosophical ideal. There is an actually existing cosmopolitan, transnational, global moral community based in widespread agreement. Uh, Human beings are entitled to a good life. It includes fulfilling such basic needs as good health, knowledge, feeling of brotherhood and friendship, positive experiences that nourish one's attitude and perceptions. These entitlements are bestowed in the form of rights which are codified in the law. The moral connotations of this law requires an individual to fulfill certain obligations like a positive duties of mutual care and support, duty to aid. Number B, negative duties of no harm to others, duty to avoid harm. And C, norm of rudimentary fairness, duty to protect. These ethical norms ensure human dignity and recognition of what Snowart says, the intrinsic value of innate human characteristics and capacities. This is supposed to lead to a cosmopolitan moral order that secures human rights, which is essential for an individual to live with dignity and worth. Unless an individual fully realizes this aspect of moral rights and duties, he cannot empathize with others and respond to others. Similarly, there is a need to realize the importance of interdependence and interconnectedness between human beings, as Betty Reardon says. Peace education should aim at the transformation of both the structure of society and the structure of consciousness, suggesting that peace education has interrelated moral and spiritual foundation. Spirituality is highly inherent in the concept of peace education. The moral day life bestows on individual immense material prosperity and possessions. Immersed in this materialistic life, individual fails to recognize the enjoyment of true peace, which is beyond the materialistic aspect. It further leads to more acquisition, more possession, more wealth, and so on. This self-centeredness blinds one to the needs of others and even deprive others to their due. The others of their due and just demands. In the long term, this leads to the enlarging gap between the haves and have-nots, totally altering the coherent social structure. This lead to what is called structural inequalities, that brings us to the concept of structural violence. It is here that the need for peace education is felt the most. It helps in addressing the crucial question of potential discord, both internal and external. The question of values remains as an important component of peace education. Peace education is crucial in enhancing the virtuous traits in individuals: respect for the others, feelings of sympathy and empathy, tolerance, harmony, and extending a hand of friendship determines the character of an individual and his her capacity to interact with others with utmost respect. Commitment to such values all through life is not easy task. Peace education helps people to live harmoniously in spite of disagreements and differences of opinion. Peace education without morality, spirituality, or value commitment becomes a futile exercise and reaps negative results in the long run. Religious sources of peace education. For long, it has been recognized that the Indian traditions insist on peaceful coexistence of all communities and people. The very culture of the nation, its eternal spirit of unity and diversity, respect and reverence to all forms of life stands testimony to the traditions of peace in the society. Various customs, traditions, languages, and cultures proclaim peace as the main element guiding these numerous traditions. Almost all the religions in their own unique way subscribe steadfastly to peace and its promotion. It should be noted that it is not religion but the perversion in its interpretation why many and incompetent people that damages the fabric of harmony. When one gets acquainted with the sacred text of various religions, one realizes that all religions preach peace. All point out towards one supreme formless being. All preach respect and tolerance towards others' faith. In short, peace is the central theme of all religions. Some of the religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism originated in India. The earlier teachings of peace were rooted in religious teachings and traditions. It has also imbibed the cultures and traditions of later entrants Islam and Christianity in its culture. Most of these religions preach as to how to live in and attain peace. The teachings of Lord Buddha, Lord Mahavira, Prophet Muhammad, and Jesus Christ center on the practice of peace in thought, word, and deed. All religions prescribe the path of truth, one's moral duty, peace, love, and non-violence. They propagate love towards other living beings like animals and plants, trees. Hinduism has numerous examples depicting reverence towards nature, plants, and animals, and worshipping of five elements. Christianity propounds the gospel of love. Islam, meaning peace, deals with the code of conduct to be followed by all that leads to peace. Jainism forbids harming even insects and other beings. Buddhism promotes peaceful tradition and way of living, and Sikhism propounds peace as the method and means to treat our fellow beings with love. Most of these religions insist on adhering to truth, non-violence, limited or non-possession, non-injury to others, and absolute faith in the Supreme Lord. Jainism prescribes the threefold path of right knowledge, right faith, and right conduct. Islam, through Quran, gives a message of hope, faith, and peace. Buddhism preaches the eightfold path to peace. Hinduism primarily Hinduism primarily a way of life to prescribed through its Vedic text and the Gita, the imminent need to follow the peace path of peace. The teachings are related to achieving peace for world order and humanity. Similarly, the Baha'i faith appeals to mankind to accept its inherent essential oneness and strive towards attaining the global peace through various grassroots, local, and international collaborative actions founded on the principle of unity in diversity, equity, justice, gender equality, moral leadership, and freedom of thought. Considering the importance of religion, the calls for interfaith dialogue and activities have been gaining momentum all over the world. The aim is to encourage freedom of belief and to eliminate religious prejudices and work together towards common social goals. India has been home to saints and learned teachers across ages. Adi Shankaracharya has been recognized as one of the earliest teachers to have propounded peace and harmony. The subsequent periods have witnessed peace. Also, religious apostles like Kabir, Sri Ramakrishna Paramans, and Swami Vivekananda, who were pioneers of peace and constantly preached on how to achieve inner harmony and ultimately attain salvation. All of them have taught the merits of unity of the mankind, avoid divisions in the society in the name of caste and religion, and focused on the necessity to attain inner peace in order to be at peace with others. Jiddu Krishnamurti was also a prominent spiritual teacher belonging to this genre. Tagore, Sri Aurobindo, Gandhi, and several other leaders, reformers, and educationists propounded their views and ideas on peace and its importance in the field of education from time to time. Gandhi and peace education. No other eminent leader in the realm of the world history is so much associated with peace and non-violence as does Gandhi. In fact, any discourse, literature, debate, discussion, or piece of work or piece is deemed to be incomplete without the mention of Gandhi. One can gauge the extent of importance he gave to peace through his own sayings, speeches, writings, etc. Examples are often quoted regarding his participation in Boer Boer War or his preference for violence over cowardice as instances of contradictions. While these may be termed as isolated instances, one cannot ignore the magnitude of force with which he argued for peace as its astounding champion. Peace was central to Gandhi's political, social, and religious philosophy and demonstrated to the world the supreme method of achieving world peace. Gandhi considered violence as the root cause of all evils. His method was non-violence, identified invariably with peace and truth. The same is reflected in his thought on education too. As S.N. Prasad says, Gandhi's concept of education reflects more or less what we call today as peace education. The values he propounded reflect in his thought, speeches, and in communication with others. The most fundamental principle of Gandhi's philosophy of peace is ahimsa or non-violence, which is the law of love, life, and creation, as opposed to violence or ahimsa, the cause of hatred, death, and destruction. Gandhi considered non-violence as an individual, important, and essential part of education and should serve as basic component guiding guiding our day-to-day activities. Gandhi proclaimed that the foundation for the development of morality in a man should begin as early as in his childhood through moral and ethical education, and considered it as important and necessary for the all-round development of personality in general and to progress towards the path of peace in particular. Gandhi's approach to value education uh, familiarizes the path of peace in particular. Gandhi's approach to value education familiarizes us in holistic perspective the necessity of basic education that emphasizes social consciousness and the dignity of every individual. Gandhi considered the moral education as essential component of education leading to character development. He advocated the introduction of religious studies in education so as to enable the students to strengthen their moral and spiritual aspect. He felt that it would promote the values of self-control, patience, and veneration in one's character. He considered moral education for developing culture of the heart or building of character. Gandhi wanted spiritualization of not only politics but also education to realize the ultimate goal of truth. Gandhi saw education as the all round drawing out of the best in the child and the man. Child and man, body, mind, and spirit. Spirit to him. To him, a personality well sustained on peace would be able to grasp the intricacies of human nature and accordingly conducts himself herself towards others. Peace thus became an essential aspect towards the character development. Gandhi's concept of education had high components of morality and spirituality. He prescribed certain rules for the students to ensure morality and righteousness, for education does not consist of mere learning of theories, but in gaining knowledge and spirituality. Education he opened should enable one to rationally uh, analyze the situation and act with peace and tolerance even under difficult circumstances. For this, the students should have a strict uh, regimen of high morals, self-control, and right thinking, a spirit of service to society, and respect towards all. Education, as he says, should lead to rediscovery of peace. This is crucial in dealing with others and in playing a constructive role for the betterment of society, nation, and ultimately towards the world. Gandhi aimed at eliminating the negative traits like communal disharmony and caste discrimination through constructive work. This he felt could be achieved only through the inculcation of right values. Gandhi believed that the introduction of religious studies in education would fortify ethics in students and develop the values of forbearance, tolerance, and humanity. Since every religion preaches and prescribes peace, it would be easy to inculcate the virtues in the students at a very early stage. Since India is a nation of diverse cultures, Gandhi thought it best to introduce the religious studies to achieve peace in the long run. Gandhi's approach may be termed as an important component to the construction of a sustainable culture of peace. The organizations and institutions involved in making efforts towards fostering peace and harmony often acknowledge Gandhi as the source of their inspiration and action contributions to peace education. It is an irony that Gandhi, who is widely acknowledged and cited in the works related to peace, was neither a recipient of Nobel Peace Prize nor included in the mainstream curriculum on peace studies. Eminent scholars like Arne Naise, John Galtung, James Sharp, J.C. Kumarappa, J.K. Mehta, and others have based their studies through direct or indirect association with Gandhi's thought and ideas. Some other prominent peace researchers and education include John Dewey and Paulo Freire, whose work on peace education have widely been recognized. There are numerous contributions to peace education by many eminent men, but only few, primarily Western, are being discussed here. John Dewey, one of the leading philosophers and educational theorists, made substantial contribution to peace education. He advocated the promotion of international understanding, in other words, world patriotism as opposed to the traditional patriotic in indoctrination as taught in different schools. The tragedies of wars made him examine the the futility of the same and called for building a non-violent world using geography and history for understanding other cultures and incorporate the values of peace and global understanding. Freire's philosophy methodically consisted of peace education, pedagogy, and practice. He concentrated on the concept of cons- conscientization that provides the foundation of peace education and the hope for coordination between education and social transformation. His insistent on dialogue and his discussions of egalitarian teacher student relations provide the basis for peace education pedagogy and continue to respond throughout the field. Arne Naess, one of the most important philosophers of deep ecology and Gandhian Satyagraha, made significant contribution to the field of deep ecology. His love for nature, his contentment in self-sufficiency made him disregard luxury, the root of all complications. Ness was impressed by Gandhi's self-realization and explained that for the self to be realized is not the ego, but the large self created when we identify with all living creatures and ultimately with the whole universe. John Galtang's works on peace research and education form the most significant contemporary contributions to the field. Elaborating on the form of peace education, Galtang insists on ruling out direct violence as well as structural violence, meaning any inherent violence that exists in the structure of the society. The content of peace education, according to him, consists in number one analysis, number two goal formation, number three critic, number four proposal making, and number five action empiricism. 1972, Galtang noted that peace education should not overshadow peace action. A much higher level of peace consciousness, he reiterated, would made up the world in which people are less easily manipulated. As it is in pursuit of that kind of world that peace education would be a contribution. Jane Gene Sharp, in his memorable work on the political development of non-violent struggle, focused on the objective of justice and freedom that requires the empowerment of the oppressed ones. He advocated addressing the conflicts according to the situation and formulating and implementing non-violent struggle to each new situation. The strategies have to be refined and adaptable and should be effective replacements to violence. As he says, the growth adaptations to newer situations will have problems because people do not know anything about the peculiar dynamics of the new problem or about the science and methodology of a non-violent struggle. The key lies in understanding the general and specific problems and formulating strategies according to the need of the situation. Among the prominent people who promoted and worked for education, few women have made outstanding contributions like Jean Adams and Maria Montessori. Adams' Peace and Bread in Time of War defines what pacifism means to educators and the importance of teaching toleration and accepting non-violence as the proper means to achieve peace and justice. Howlett also says that as an educator and reformer, she perceived peace as a social dynamic based on individual acts of common decency rather than cold, detached, stipulated agreements among national states. Adam considered war as unnatural, anti-progressive, and immoral, and was a throwback to an archaic stage of social history, and it was fought to maintain the balance of power, a concept that glorified stasis and left no room for innovation. Similarly, Dr. Maria Montessori asserted that values like global citizenship, personal responsibility, and respect for diversity must be both an implicit and explicit part of every child's education. Montessori developed methods that insisted on self discipline instead of imposing discipline from outside. She opened that students should be involved in forming and enforcing the rules of their community. When undesired behavior occurs, the manner in which it is handled must honor the humanity of both the student who exhibit the behavior as well as the victim. The other names that are associated with peace education include Edwin Ginn, Ihu Ihu Burith, and Ellis Building. One can also find the resonance of Gandhian thought in the works of Komarappa Mehta and others, which are dealt exclusively in the subsequent course on Gandhi's economic thought. Peace and education in action. Haphazard suggested that peace education, as in the case of all education, should be conducted in three means: number one, information; number two, attitudes; and number three, action. It consists of awareness, analysis, and action. Peace education is a part in a larger framework aiming at social change. It is a transformative change for better. In this scheme, the transformation of the individual is the primary requisite. This individual transformation gradually brings in a change in the system structure. Individually and collectively, it becomes imperative to come together for learning to live together, creating awareness about others, tribulations, analyzing and the situation rationally, and taking action with willingness to produce the positive results. It is important to note that peace education can be promoted only in an atmosphere of non-violence. There is a crucial link between human nature and violence. As Gandhi believed, the evil can be overcome by a steadfast adherence to non-violence, but holistically, he believed that all human beings are inherently good. It is though this belief that he brought out the blueprint for development constructive program. It aims at social change through non-violence. Similarly, in the process of peace education, the individual is exposed to the stark realities of the world, wherein there are severe disparities, and makes him her understand the ground realities in which millions of their brethren live. This develops the ability to understand others and also the willingness to change things for better. This is what John David termed as world patriotism, for creating a better world. Peace education is not an abstract concept on that or that which can be imparted only through classroom teaching. It is a continuous learning process. Peace education can begin from the family setting and move on the other level like schools, institutions of higher education, workplace, or areas where related projects take place. It is important to note the following points for an effective learning in the process. Emphasis should be on the participatory and self-initiated learning. Preser- uh, Preservation and advancement of peace should be integrated into discussions. Development of curricula of peace and practical approaches. Imparting of peace related knowledge through media. Imparting of the knowledge through religious institutions. Knowledge dissemination through social work projects. Cooperation and collaboration in the fields of education. Selection of information and evaluation. Eliminating biases in conflict information. Organizing campaign, conducting seminars and talks on peace, giving trainings to the educators of peace to cater to all sections of society, promoting volunteerism to provide learning opportunities, maintaining consistent motivation levels to promote peace. The following table depicting the general learning goals related to tolerance as developed by the eminent peace educator Betty Reardon helps us in understanding the modalities involved in this process. Values, human dignity, rights, knowledge, varieties of human personal and cultural identities, social issues, capabilities and skills, living with diversity, cross cultural cooperation, using human rights standard to make judgments, social justice and democracy, multiple forms of democratic processes and governance, numbers, capabilities and skills, exercising responsibility, critical reflections, communication of facts and opinions, political decision making, cooperative non-violent society, peace, alternative ways of responding constructively to human differences and conflicts, managing conflict, discussion and debate, conflict resolution, reconciliation, social restructuring, cooperative problem solving, and task achievement. Source Riordan, 1997, Unit 1 P53. The curriculum on peace education is developed by the UNHCR Peace Education Program, which is now known as Peace Education Program of the Interagency Network of Education in Emergencies. INEE has in its content specific skills that help in promoting the ideas of peaceful living. These include understanding similarities and differences for older children, exclusion and inclusion, active listening, better communication, two-way, handling emotions, understanding that perceptions vary and avoiding biases, understanding others, situation and feelings, empathy practice, cooperation, appropriate assertiveness, problem analysis and problem solving, negotiation, negotiation, mediation, conflict resolution with conflict transformation and reconciliation, human rights. What have you learned about peace? Summary: Peace education aims at enhancing the human values that are needed to deal with conflict situations at an individual and societal level. These sources can be found in the cultures where peace traditions are strong. Although the religious sources play a crucial role in changing the mindset towards achieving positive peace and thereby contribute to world peace. Many peace educators and researchers have made immense contribution to this field. Gandhi was one of the leading personalities associated with charting out measure for a scheme of education that would promote peace. With the development of skills and modern techniques, peace education is increasingly being taken up in various educational programs all over the world, supported substantially by the state and national governments. Apart from international organizations like UNESCO, peace education has now become a hope for a better future. Thank you.